Nomophobia is phone addiction. There's actually a word for it. There are 6.8 billion smartphone users on the planet, and many of them are addicted to their phone. Today's guest, Lindsay Lunny, is going to help us understand a little bit more about what that looks like, how that manifests, the effect it has on our kids, and then also give us some ideas that are really fun and helpful in helping alleviate some of the phone addiction. Lindsay is the founder and CEO of an app called Hidden Strengths. It is a mental health platform for young people. They offer meaningful support, advice, and guidance in a safe, anonymous environment. The support is both peer-to-peer as well as in the form of fully qualified therapists available on demand using secure environments. It is all free, and it's an amazing resource that's available right now in the UK and hopefully soon in the United States. So please welcome Lindsay Lunny to the Teaching Your Toddler Show. Hello, this is Mary Jo Tinlin from the Teaching Your Toddler Show. Today we have a great guest to talk to us about a subject that is extremely important and one that affects a lot of us. Please welcome to the show, Lindsay Lunny. Lindsay, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm Lindsay. I'm the founder and CEO of the Hidden Strength Foundation, which is predominantly an app that we have built for children and young people aged 13 to 24 to help them with their mental health and their mental well-being. So obviously the topic of today's conversation is quite close to our hearts because obviously the app is based on a phone.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about phone addiction. And I know for most of the listeners, they may have children who are really young, and so they may not be addicted yet. But maybe we can talk a little bit about how to prevent that, but then we'll also what can we do to address that?
Of course, absolutely. I think I think it's really important for people to understand that, we need to educate our children from a really early age around all types of phone addiction and issues around kind of, social media. I think we tend to have this ability to kind of underestimate our young people. A lot of the young people are fully aware of actually how bad phone addiction can be on their mental health and their mental well-being, but they almost need people to help them get through this rather than a parent. I mean, I have children myself. I have a son who is 10 and my daughter who is 14, nearly 15. And the thing I have always been really strong on is talking to them rather than just saying no, 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 which it can really put barriers up. My whole stance has always been educate them, teach them. Don't show them too many of the scary things online, but talk to them about, the negatives and the positives of things like social media. Talk about how phone addiction can have such a detrimental effect on their mental health, mental well-being. I talk quite a lot with my daughter actually around social media. She spent a long time with me looking through, bizarrely enough, the terms and conditions of TikTok. Because I wanted to understand, I wanted her to understand this wasn't her mum saying, no, 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 you can't have TikTok. It's the reason I don't want you to have TikTok at such an early age is because of this. And actually, she really understood it and appreciated the conversation. And actually, to this date, she doesn't have TikTok, which I know that's a bit of a kind of
Congratulations.
not quite sure how well I've done on that one. Let's see with my son, he's a different ball game. But
Yeah, right. That's an
it,
amazing approach to kind of, I mean, she's old enough that she could understand that, but I love that you sort of were like, hey, look, it says we're not supposed to do this, right?
yeah, and it was actually when she was 11 because her school, all of her friends had TikTok. They were doing the TikTok dances, and she was like, "Mummy, I want to get involved. And it was really hard as a parent to sit there and almost isolate your child from her friends because she doesn't have TikTok. But I sat her down and I said, look, this is what TikTok is, and this is what TikTok does. And if you understand that, then maybe you might have a different opinion on something like TikTok. So
Mhm.
I'm not, by the way, I'm not here to bash just
Sure,
TikTok.
no, I mean any
But
of them,
it's
right?
just, and actually she's just got her first Instagram account at 14. And again, it's around talking to her around safety and how to protect herself online and how things like algorithms work. And I think that is vital. And I know obviously that your audience have younger children, but for older teenagers, understanding how algorithms work is, I think, so important.
Oh my goodness, yeah, because they have no idea that when they're, why do I keep seeing animal videos or workout videos or whatever, right? Like what once they understand, here's why you're seeing them, then that would help, I think, a lot. In fact, that that helped me. I kept getting served these like, I don't know, dance videos or something, and I don't know, I feel finally realized I was like, it's because I keep watching them. I don't want to see these, but so I stopped interacting, and guess what? I don't get them anymore. So anyway, well, so I know that I have some stats here from the notes that I got that there's 6.8 billion people smartphones on the planet, of which 6.3% have a phone addiction. So, and that there's actually a word, nomophobia, that means phone addiction or behavior and addiction, I guess, is a it says phone addiction is a behavior addiction known as nomophobia. So it exists clearly. So what are some of these things that people need to know about phone addiction for either themselves or their children?
I think, phone addiction is, we're all, we're all guilty of phone addiction, I think, to a certain extent. I know I am. It's the ease of life now, isn't it? Everything's at the touch of a button, it's touch of the screen. I think from a social media standpoint, I think education is really important from a really early age to understand. And I think that would help relieve the phone addiction to a certain extent, because if they understand social media a little bit better, it's not the constant need to be on it, to be kind of, looking for a source of connection, which is the problem. Is we've kind of created this situation where children no longer communicate. They don't talk to one another. That was pretty much how Hidden Strength, the app, came about, because there was a need for young people to get help in a form that they understood, which is text. They struggle to communicate from face to face. So I think the great thing about your audience is there is an opportunity for them to change this from a really early age, to teach their children to communicate, have that open relationship, have that open dialogue, teach them how to have face-to-face conversations and relationships, and encourage that, because then they're not gravitating towards a smartphone to find that connection, which is what they're doing, whether they are, struggling with schoolwork or friendship groups, or just trying desperately to feel like they belong. If you give them that kind of, I guess, building blocks from an early age on how to do that as an individual, they won't go to the smartphone or the social media platforms as much to crave that connection, which is why they have been so popular. And obviously there is the side where they're all kind of designed by people that can help them have that addiction. But ultimately, we've created a situation where our young people just can't communicate anymore. So we have
Mhm.
to reprogram the next generation, I guess.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is a programming, right? They're set in the way that they either communicate or they don't communicate. And yeah, I definitely have seen that. And my kids, they're a little older now, but I'm actually shocked that my youngest, who is 17, he actually uses the phone. He actually like talks to people, and he seems fine if you have to talk to someone, which I'm shocked by because my older ones who are in their early 20s, they don't want to talk on the phone at all. I mean, it's almost like they don't know that the phone is actually a phone, like for actually calling people. It's more for, like you said, texting or certainly social media and that kind of thing. So it is interesting how it does manifest differently in different people, right?
Absolutely. And I do think, I do think the next generation are craving that. They are, they want to be listened to, they want to be heard, they want people to understand that this isn't their fault, and it isn't their fault. We've created the legacy for them,
Mm,
we created the situation, and they've unfortunately the result of it. So I do think if you listen to the next generation, and I listen to my daughter, they're all desperate. They're all desperate to not be like this. And it's about helping them on that road. And I know I've created an app, which is slightly
mhm,
ironic. We're talking about phone addiction. But there's a place for good as well. There is a
mhm,
place, that we can use things like the phone for good. It doesn't have to be negative. We with hidden strength, we are able to access the young people in the comfort of their own homes so that they feel able to open up and share.
mhm,
They're struggling with the face to face, as we mentioned. So what we're doing is creating a platform for them to feel comfortable to open up.
mhm,
It can be used for good, but but it teaching them, like I said, that it's just moving away from this desperation to feel connected through social media, and
mhm,
that's where the kind of addiction comes, I think.
mhm, mhm. So, since you've mentioned it several times, tell us a little bit about Hidden Strength. I didn't realize that it was like through text, but they actually have the core audience. They actually have access to therapists, right?
Qualified therapists,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Like I said, in the comfort of their own home, just
Mm-hmm.
because the way that obviously the next generation are, they find it very difficult to have that face-to-face conversation. So what we've done is almost ironically created a mental health version of a social media platform. Very ironic, I know, but it means that the demographic find it very easy to navigate and understand. But again, like I said, it's kind of using the phone for good rather than for a negative. And I'd much rather they spent 20 minutes, half an hour having a look through our kind of mental well-being library
Mm-hmm.
rather than being on Snapchat. So it's kind of little things like that.
Tell us a little bit about those kinds of things. Like they have access to the library you just said, to the therapists. How does it all work?
So there's two parts to the app mainly. There's, like I said, the mental, it's called our help zone, which is a huge bank of content around kind of TikTok style videos, and kind of we have an Instagram style story feed, but it's all around mental health, mental well-being to really empower the young person to feel back in control of their situation. It could be about anxiety, friendship group issues, exam stress, anything that can kind of really cause our young people additional worries. And we're super proud of that. But what we're really proud of is what we've built is the therapy hub, which allows young people to access qualified therapists, and have either a kind of a 20-minute touch point, which is almost like a triage. And then once they've done that, they can have a 40-minute text-based therapy session with our qualified therapists.
Oh, that's amazing. How is the pricing work for that? How is that pricing structured?
I believe really strongly in making sure that young people have access to free qualified support. Young people should not have to pay for mental health support because, I live in the UK. as well as in the US, just because your parents have money, you shouldn't have to, it shouldn't mean that you can get support and someone else doesn't.
Mm.
So it should break down the barriers from a society point of view. Children should have access to qualified support.
Wow, that is a great that's a great model. I mean, it's hard to say no to that if it's free, that's the right price.
Yes, exactly. Because, financial barriers are huge for young people getting support.
Mhm.
And like we just said, they have the phone addiction, they're on social media or they're gaming or they're doing any, these things that, are really destructive for their mental well-being. And then they can't afford to get support to help them. Where's the outlet? Where are they able to get that help? It
Mhm.
just causes, the situation to get worse for them.
Hmm. And do you, I know in the notes it says it's from 13 to 24. If a child that's younger than that comes to you, are you allowed to address them, or is that your TNC, like you said, your terms and conditions? Do you have to be
At
that?
the moment, it's 13
Yeah.
through legislation. We have
Mm,
a really amazing safeguarding team to make sure that everybody is safe and secure on the platform. We have banking level security on the app. But due to kind of regulatory wise, under 13 young children are unable to kind of almost make those decisions for themselves. So right now it's 13. Our hope is once we get bigger to lower that to 10 because we all know young people are on social media platforms before the age of 13. But that's our hope as we get old, grow bigger to be able to help younger children.
that's great. I'm glad you said that about banking level security because I'm sure people are concerned about their children's safety from the
I'm a
guy.
mum. I
Yeah.
built it as a mum as
Mm,
well. I built it wanting to know that if my children used the platform, they were 100% safe. So
mhm,
we have banking level security on the app. They can't communicate within the app, but they can obviously, speak to therapists, but they can't communicate with each other
mhm.
at the moment. So it's just really important that they're secure and they feel safe.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So, what are some of the tips that you have for if a mom is listening and they're like, oh, I give my kid the iPad while we're at the restaurant or whatever. What am I doing to my child? Are there some things that you would recommend for parents to have some safety around being on social media or not social media, but devices of any kind?
We're all culprits of that, by the way. I've many a time given my children an iPad. But I think first and foremost, we need to educate ourselves. I think as a parent, we need to spend some time understanding the the other side to game of games, not just social media. There's games, there's
Hmm.
many, Roblox, etc. Take some time to educate yourself.
Hmm.
I did, I make my friends many times to educate yourself first so that you are informed on how to kind of navigate it with your children. And as I said, from an early age, I've been very open and honest with my children about games, social media, and kind of really talking to them about why we have limits. I have screen time limits with my children, which is very easy to do on we're an Apple device family, so it's very easy to put screen times in. I discussed it particularly with my son because he's slightly younger, and I sat him down and say, we don't do iPads during the week. We're at school and at weekends we have a limit. And if you're doing something and we want to discuss having an additional 15, 20 minutes, then let's talk about it. But what it actually does is get the children to stop and think how long they've already been on the platform.
Hmm.
If you give them screen time for 30 minutes and it comes up, it makes them stop and think that actually I've done my time. And many times they'll go, okay, I'm done. And off they go.
Hmm.
By the way, I don't have all the answers and I get things wrong a lot. But putting the screen time part, like the screen time limits in place was a really big thing for my children. And they really understand and appreciate it as well. The other thing I did was I blocked certain websites
Mm,
and things on their iPads, devices, particularly YouTube. You can block websites like that. It's difficult because even as my son at 10, he gets sent YouTube videos and things like that and TikTok videos, and I've blocked them from his device. So he
mm,
has to come to me and say, "Oh, mommy, my friend sent me this. Can I look at it with you?" And I'll go, "Well, let me watch it first,
mm,
and then
mhm,
we can watch it together." So there's many things you can do to kind of almost limit the screen time and kind of have that conversation with them.
mhm. Those are great ideas. Yeah, that's excellent. And also just finding things that don't involve the screen, right?
Absolutely. There's so many things, and kind of really tapping into my son loves cars. So
Mm,
wherever we go, we take cars and my daughter loves to draw. So always being armed with alternatives,
hmm
it does help. But
hmm
if you can put measures in place to prevent it, and also I didn't give my husband the screen time password because he's the soft one out of the two of us.
Well done. I can totally understand that. That's hilarious. And there's a great blog post on the Hidden Strengths website also that kind of says like if you have 15 minutes you can do this. If you have a half an hour you could do this. If you have 45 minutes you could cook something, right? If you like when you said drawing, I think that reminded me one of them was, draw a picture instead of, 15 minutes on TikTok or whatever, like be productive. And so I love that there's some options and ideas on there for that. That's fantastic.
There's so many options you can do, and it's about kind of just finding something that they enjoy. Recently, we've been traveling to the States a lot, and we always go out for dinner in the evening. We don't do any phones at the table,
Hmm
and we play Uno, and
Oh.
my kids love it. And so we have game night. So when we travel, we always take games, and now every other kind of well, every few weeks we do game night with my mom and family, and the kids love it. And the whole deal is no phones.
That's amazing. We've recently started doing that too with our son and with his girlfriend's family, and it's so fun, especially if everybody's like not super competitive and like nobody's making it awkward. But man, it's so much fun to like, just play all the different kinds of games. I love that about Uno. And yeah, my son's girlfriend's family, she's actually taught us a bunch of like card games. And I just, like you said, everybody puts their phone away, and often it'll go 1 or 2 hours where you don't touch it. And it's like, that is so refreshing and amazing. I love
They
that.
always ask for it now, don't they? I mean, my son say, "Can we play Uno? Can we play Uno?" And
Oh,
every time we go out for dinner, it's like, "Is who's packed the Uno?" So it's
that's
it,
great.
it helps. And by the way, like I said, I don't have all the answers, but we tried and tested a few things.
For sure. I mean, you're definitely very aware of it, clearly, because of your line of work. And so I mean, I think it's great to have those ideas. Is there anything, before I let you go, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think that the listener should know?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. I think for me, just trying to get the message across around education, I think is super important.
Mhm,
It's what's I'm really trying to emphasize with everybody at the moment is, educate yourself and educate your children
mhm,
on phones, smartphones, social media,
mhm,
and honestly, it will surprise you how interested they are, but also how much they take it on board as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Lindsay, tell us how to find you and find out more of everything that we've talked about today.
Well, we have hiddenstrengths.com, which is our website, which has a huge bank of information around kind of social media and phone addiction, and also what we do as a charity. Um, At the moment, we're launched in the UK. So we are live in the UK and we're hoping to launch in the US very soon and bring the platform across to the US really soon. So I'm very excited. But yes, absolutely. Please visit the Hidden Strength website, which will give you all the information about what we do and how we can help the young people.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll make sure that that is linked in the show notes. It's been such a pleasure to speak to you today. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Mhm. This has been the Teaching Your Toddler Show with Mary Jo Tinlin. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave a 5-star review or a thumbs up so we can reach more parents like you. To be notified when new shows post, please subscribe by sending an email to subscribe@teachingyourtoddler. For more expert interviews, fun activities, and storytime podcasts, please visit our website at teachingyourtoddler.com. All of our shows are also posted as videos as well on our YouTube channel at Mary Jo Tinlin. Find us on Facebook at Teaching Your Toddler, X at Teaching Toddler, Instagram at Teaching Your Toddler, and make sure you check out our past shows. We have so many diverse topics. There's most likely more shows that you will enjoy. Thanks for joining us, and come back and see us again real soon.